enough, Liverpool. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, Gab.
After 4,830 days, Jose Mourinho makes his return to La Liga. Real Madrid win 2-1 at Espanyol, but Jules takes a late scrambled goal from the new Gonzalo Garcia, Carlos Espi, to get it done.
Yeah, it was not the best of performances, despite an early goal on set piece. Gula for Bellingham. Gula, who started on the right-hand side with a lot of freedoms to leave that right-hand side to Denzel Dumfries, who started ahead of Trent Alexander-Arnold on our right-hand side and was bombing forward and all of that. So you could see already what Mourinho is trying to do with Bellingham as a 10 and Vini and Mbappe and then a double pivot. There's still a lot of work, I think, to do there. And that also means Yan Diomande on your bench, for example. He came on and didn't really do too much when he came on. But for Mourinho, that looked, I thought, quite a lot. And the camera kept panning on him through the whole game, obviously, because he was the attraction. He was the big star. He looked quite worried, I thought, for a lot of the game. Until the 90 whatever minute it was, and when SP scored that scruffy goal to win it, it's all about winning for him. He had to start with a win, of course, but there's a lot of work to do with this team.
Yeah, and I think what you described there with Chouameni in for Bernardo, and Cucurella in at left back, leaving aside Militao, who at this point is kind of virtual. I think this is his idea of the team. And Diomande can be a guy coming off the bench to change games and so on. But I really think he wants to give Arda Güler a chance. And I got to talk about Carlos Espi just for a second. You know, I was a big Gonzalo Garcia fan.
Yeah.
I thought it was ridiculous how Arbeloa kind of didn't really give him a chance until kind of the season was over and Mbappe and Vini started saving themselves for the World Cup. I thought it was even funnier that then he goes and signs him for Fulham. Makes no sense. But there's a basic reality in football that if the other team is defending deep and you're desperate for a goal, simply having a large man up front who's going to put himself about is going to change things. It's a simple reference, a simple law of football. Even Pep Guardiola, you remember Pep Guardiola at Barcelona? Late in the game, we need to go. What do we do? Gerard Piqué, go up front. It's a simple thing. There's no shame in it. And I'm so happy for this kid. And I'm so happy that somebody there was bright enough to realize, all right, Gonzalo, whatever. Let's bring somebody else in who can do that. And the kid looks so happy.
Bayern win the German Super Cup, beating Borussia Dortmund 2-1. Gab, my boy Michael Olise, looking good again.
First
half especially.
After that, all the Bayern looked good in the first half. Kobel felt like made like a million saves, and then as Bayern sometimes do, they kind of packed it in a little bit. What surprised, and obviously Dortmund pulled one back late, maybe could have even equalized.
Easily,
You're like, oh no. What surprised me again is Vincent Kompany. Okay, I understand Musiala's out, Carl is out. Serge Gnabry's obviously out. But hey, look, let me put Nathaniel Brown in attacking midfield.
That was crazy.
Pulling that out of the hat. And he scored a goal. He's obviously going to interpret the position differently. But this is why I love Vincent Kompany. He's thinking one step ahead. He's trying different things. And I thought in that first half, they looked, like you said, they look tremendous. It's kind of like, this is all we need to do. Jules, we're not done. We have more quick hits.
Yes.
2 goals apiece for Rafinha and Fermin Lopez as Barcelona stomp Elche away 5-0. Who needs a center forward, huh?
Exactly.
Jules, how'd they look?
Yeah, I thought they looked great, Gab. Rafinha has done number 9 if you want, or forced number 9, whatever, was outstanding, involved in pretty much everything. Fermin as a 10 looked great and looked really, really sharp after his injury earlier in the summer. And then we had Anthony Gordon coming on with 2 assists. In transition, they played great in transition. They played good with the ball. The only thing really was maybe a bit Lamine was a little bit off it at times and was certainly not happy to be subbed off and looked like he clearly showed that unhappiness on the bench, like a face like thunder he had. But perfect way for them, I think, to start the season when you think there was no De Jong, no Rodri, no Kubansi, no Koundé,
no Pedri.
Some of these
guys came off the bench
for Gavi, who seemed to have picked up another injury. So I really enjoyed that performance. Inter Milan rolled to a 4-1 win over Monza. Gab, Francesco Pio Esposito is pretty good and scored a pretty good goal.
Oh yes. You like that the little back heel
I
flick?
love it, yeah.
You know, it's
Still not the goal of the weekend because I'm sure we'll mention for me the goal of the weekend a bit later on. But yeah, that was sweet.
Çalhanoğlu might want to have a word as well. It was in the same match.
Even that can't beat.
I just love the amount of energy and unselfishness that he brings. Go center forwards with his profile don't always play with this much energy. Inter have a proper rotation now. Takes pressure off of Lautaro, who is going to have to ease into the season. He wasn't particularly good. Takes pressure off of Marcos Thuram.
Yeah.
Was hoping to play a little more at the World Cup. And then Antoine Bunny's there. He's got to be smart how he uses his four forwards, but that is a deep attacking core. Ferran Torres has to come off the bench to rescue Paris Saint-Germain away to Rennes. Jules, reason to be concerned, or should we just celebrate the genius of Luis Enrique? People were laughing at Ferran Torres. Who's laughing now?
Well, great coaching because, everything he did in terms of match management, in-game management, for Luis Enrique worked yesterday. We were not good at all in that first half, although we had a big chance to come back to 1-1. But conceded twice in transition, which was poor. The rest defense, a bit like the Liverpool rest defense, was not good enough on Sunday night for PSG. But then Fabian Ruiz and Ferran Torres, Mika Götze as well coming on and all having a really good impact. But the two goals that Ferran scored, the movement that he had, and I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan, but I have to say he was really good on Sunday. I was telling my kids I don't like him, and then he saved us. It's 2 games now. The Lens defeat the previous weekend, this draw there, which I think, again, I expected it because they're not ready and they're not fair. Luis Enrique took off Kvaratskhelia and Dembele at half-time.
The Ballon d'Or winner.
Had strong words against Dembele in his post-match interviews as well. So it'd be fun for the next few weeks.
When you win 2 Champions League titles, you can, or 3 even, you can, and you're a little mad, you can act like Luis Enrique does.
Julian Alvarez gets booed before, during, and after Atletico Madrid's 2-2 draw with Villarreal on Sunday. Gab, any sympathy?
I have none whatsoever. He deserves everything he gets. There is a way. You have to be an adult about this. I think I don't blame Barcelona in this because they make an offer. They're told, hey, this is here. It is a little sketch when his agent also happens to be Hansi Flick's agent.
Yeah.
But no, I will always side with the fans. I don't know if Atleti are going to stick it out until the end or try to sell him somewhere else or whatever. But this is bad. As for the game itself, it finished 2-2, 2 penalties. Atleti not happy with that, but they also did go down to 10 men after Robin Lenormand went off.
Ruben Amorim begins his Milan career with a 2-1 win over Torino as young and old Alpha Cisse and Adrien Rabiot score.
Can we talk about Alpha Cisse?
Yeah.
I don't know. Ruben Amorim.
A year ago, he was in Serie B.
Has a ton of faults. We know this. We've seen him up close, right? But to have the freedom to say, oh, look, this guy had a bad injury, played for Catanzaro. Let me chuck him into the starting lineup. Okay, and I know
he had a good preseason, though. He had a really good preseason.
Good preseason. There was no Pulisic. I know, but you also had Salamakers there and Diego Moreira there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Do you think Max Allegri would have ever done this? Do you think Max Allegri knows who Alpha Cisse is, even though Milan signed him back in January? Yeah, I'll tell you. No, he has no idea. So I think it takes guts. I like the fact that big Italian clubs are playing the kids occasionally, especially Italian kids. Like this guy, he's from Treviso, although obviously he's of African Guinean, I think, descent.
Yeah.
And I thought he played really, really well.
Yeah,
should have won a penalty as
Milan
well.
Played really well, to be fair. But the goal of the weekend is Che Adams' goal. Incredible goal. By far the goal of the weekend. But I thought Milan and especially in the first half were outstanding.
It's Serie A is where you go for your highlight reel.
Calcio is
Che
back.
Adams, take a bow, son.
Calcio is back.
David Ancelotti gets all 3 points on his debut for Lille away to Angers. Jules, that handsome guy who opened the scoring looks a little bit familiar.
Yeah, Olivier Giroud, 40-year young very soon. Next month, he will turn 40 years old. Scored after 11 minutes. Scores on the opening day of last season after 11 minutes as well for Lille. Then it was a bit more difficult for him, obviously at that age. And he was not supposed to be the starting number 9 really this season because Fernandes Pardo, as we mentioned, I think on Thursday, it was supposed to be the one. But a bit like Villa and Watkins, Lille have a problem with him who wants to leave. Very solid from Davide Ancelotti, coherent in the team that he picked up and the performances that he had individually, collectively as well. That was sound. So good start for him.
This is his big shot, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And so far, so good. Gelson Bremer scores to give Juventus a 1-0 win away at Frosinone, newly promoted Frosinone. But Gab, why was Spalletti so mean to my boy Randall Colomwani? Back to the club.
He's from Bondi. I put Paris born and bred in the script.
Paris
He's
born
from
and bred.
Bondi. He's not even the most famous.
Bondi born and bred, yeah.
He's not the most famous footballer from Bondi, is he?
He's probably not even in the top. Well, not top 2 for sure. Top 3, 5 maybe.
Wait, who's the other one?
Mbappe, Saliba.
Oh, Saliba, that's
Jacquet.
right. And who?
Jeremy Jacquet from Liverpool.
Well, you put Jeremy Jacquet ahead of Colin White. It's a bit early in his career.
I mean,
Anyway, to tell you what Spalletti said.
Yeah.
So Juve created chance. Frosinone are not very good. Juve created chance. They weren't great. Douglas Luiz got the start. Was laid a turd as you'd expect. I don't know what they're gonna do with them. Juve haven't finished. They're not done. They're gonna. I think we'll see a lot of ins and outs. But Colomwani missed an absolute sitter early. He missed another one later.
Yeah.
And Spalletti comes out and says, well, if he hasn't played in 2 years, he hasn't scored in 2 years, is what he meant to say, there must be a reason. Sometimes you think you're exceptional, and that leads you to forget what made you great. Now, he only scored 1 league goal last season in 30-odd appearances for Tottenham, which is not good.
Yeah.
But, man, why did you take this guy back?
Because they like him, and he likes it there. And they know there's a good player because he was good when he went on loan there the season before last.
He wasn't that good.
He was good. He started really well. Then had a
50 million commitment to Paris Saint-Germain, 4 million euros.
Welcome
and
it.
Then 34 million. If you've qualified for Europe, they have to spend 34 million to make the deal permanent.
Yeah. I really hope they qualify for Europe.
I thought you might. I thought you might. I don't want to have a go at him, but it seems so bizarre of Spalletti to go. Obviously, not every player. People say, "Oh, it's confidence." Yeah, confidence. Some players rely more on confidence, some less.
Yeah, and rhythm,
I don't know if it's an issue with this guy. But why would you go and undermine him when you said to the club, yeah, let's get him, right?
That was brutal.
They're already destroying Jonathan David by trying to sell him all over the world, right? I know that you're in a bad financial position, but why Colomwani? I don't get this. 2 out of 3 newly promoted teams start with a win.
Woo!
Jules, let's hear it for Ipswich Town, who beat Sunderland with a late Jack Clark goal.
Yeah, and a massive mistake from Sunderland. Why are you trying to play out from the back? You almost got caught a few minutes before in a similar position. And this time you are made to pay for it. Good from Ipswich and Gary O'Neill in terms of, again, the energy, the intensity, a bit what we saw with Hull City against United. And we knew they were going to play like that. And Siso was outstanding because when he runs at you and when he has that kind of freedom, he can be really good. But I thought Sunderland, especially after coming back to 1-1 with our Angulo free kick, just had it there, even just a point. But they had chances. They should have won it, probably. But then at least if you can't win it, don't lose it. And they did. So well done to Ipswich. A lovely goal by Jack Clark. I think they've spent a lot of money on it and on their squads this summer. A lot of money, £150 million. It's a lot of money from Ipswich to give them all the tools to be able to stay up. So let's see. But at least it was the perfect start.
And Emerson, of course, has an extra M in his name, which probably makes him better than the other Emersons we've seen.
And again, Liga, Liga product. That's what you do. Napoli win 2-0 away to Genoa. Gab, all well for Max Allegri on his debut?
No. And again, narrative, De Laurentiis Napoli president going like, oh, we won. Yeah, it's the only good thing here is that you got the 3 points. Napoli's XG, minute 60. 0.10. And you're playing Genoa. You're not playing Paris Saint-Germain or Barcelona. You're playing Genoa.
Who had chances, by the way.
Had chances as well. Yeah, my boy Baldanzi, like sneaking around in there. They have big Vitinha as well. The other thing, which obviously completely incensed Genoa and Daniele De Rossi and the club, was De Bruyne's goal. Sorry, this is the other thing, right? Allegri, because the 2 subs scored, De Bruyne and Vergara, look, his changes.
Yeah.
First of all, Danchek a genius to send on De Bruyne. Second of all, De Rossi thought it was a foul.
It could be given. I thought so too.
The thing is, you got to call those all season long if you're going to do this, right? So I can see why he's upset. The other one, Otoa doesn't short out his seat and basically shepherds the ball into the net for the Vergara goal. So I don't think you have anything to be
agree.
crowing about or being happy about. Rasmus Højlund and Lorenzo Luca combined for 0 shots and 1 touch in the opposition box. Those are your center forwards. I rest my case.
Yeah.
Let's go to the championship. West Brom striker Aune Hegebo has been banned for 2 games for intentionally deceiving the referee. Remember, this is the guy who scored with his hand against Norwich.
Yeah, and Philippe Clement, the Norwich manager, really not happy. As you would understand, there's no VAR in the championship, and what he did in his press conference before the game at the weekend was to read out the list of the 81 leagues and 81 countries. Some have VAR in the top 2 leagues, where they have VAR, to highlight the fact that how come the championship in England doesn't have the VAR. So he's starting by alphabetical order. It was amazing to watch. If you have like 5 minutes to waste in your life, go and listen, because he has the list and he goes Algeria, Albania. It's amazing, and he goes through the whole all the countries, and he's right.
He's right. I also understand culturally the football league is different. This country's different. Whatever. I would have done the exact same thing he did. Actually, I wouldn't have been creative enough. Well done, Philippe. What I find shocking here is that people aren't blaming Hegebo. People are blaming the referees for not catching it.
But both really. Because Hegebo should have said, and that's why he's been suspended. Yeah, he should have said, "Listen,
he should have been suspended for longer." He should have been, and this isn't the first time we've had it. We've seen it happen in the Premier League as well, with Paul Scholes a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I agree.
It's not a good situation.
Bloomberg report that UAE officials warned the British government that a negative outcome or heavy sanction against Manchester City over those 115 charges, against the Premier League, could strain relations, that's the quote, between the 2 countries. Is this a big deal? Is this for real?
Bloomberg reports it, so I'm assuming it's well sourced. If I'm Khaldoun Al Mubarak, the first thing I do is I get on the phone with my boss, and I say, please find whatever government officials in our government went and did this, and I don't know, leave him in a room with me and a baseball bat, because this is one of the worst things that could happen. There's 2 readings of this, right? This does not help Manchester City. I think Manchester City are furious that this happened.
Yeah.
One reading is, they're worried that, and so they're trying to exert political pressure. I don't believe that's right at all. First of all, because I actually believe the whole process is pretty watertight. I know it's absurd. It's been years, and we still don't have a verdict, even though proceedings ended a long time ago. But I don't think City have any knowledge whatsoever, worried one way or the other. I don't think anything's leaking. Secondly, City are too smart. City know that anything like this is only going to make them look worse. So I think they would have been totally against them.
Yeah.
Whoever thought that this was going to be clever, this crap doesn't work in this country, right? They don't. The Premier League is its own animal. They don't like listening to the government. And come on, think about who's in charge of the government now here in this country. Andy Burnham. No chance. Betis beat Real Sociedad and our boy Rino Matarazzo on Friday night, 1-0.
Yeah.
And Jules, they're getting help in the form of Troy Parrott for 60 million.
Yeah, he was there in the stands watching. Has been outstanding last season, really, in the Eredivisie with Alkmaar. It's a big move for him, I think, to obviously a better team, a bigger league. And I think Betis, who have Couto Hernandez up front, of course, could do with his eyes for goal and his movement in the box and all of that. So I'm looking forward to seeing.
It's an alternative.
Yeah, to an alternative, and seeing if he does well or not. England, France, and Spain are among the countries that have named squads for the Under-20 Women's World Cup in Poland next month. Gab, does this mean they won't boycott it?
Well, they were keen to point out that they didn't just want to. If you remember, UEFA threatening to boycott all FIFA competitions, or saying they would boycott all FIFA unless Gianni Infantino's plan for the football forward thing wasn't just withdrawn, but that they would make a pledge never to do this ever again. He hasn't done the pledge, so theoretically the boycott should still be on the table. I hope to learn more when I get to hang out with all the UEFA folk in Monaco next week. Like the Under-20 World Cup in Poland, you can move it. You can have alternative competitions. You can just play it later in the year. You're not going to deny these women these chances of playing. Yeah. The problem is October 9th. because October 9th, this is when you've got the Women's World Cup qualifying playoffs. That is where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah.
You boycott that, then you have an issue because there is a Women's World Cup in 2027. So we'll see which way this goes. Punishments have been handed out for the brawl post-World Cup final, Jules. Do they seem fair to you?
Yeah, I mean, remember we did the show straight after that final and we said...
You were angry.
We were angry. We said Paredes should be banned for a long time. He got 10-game ban, which I think is fair for the fight that he kind of created by himself, really. Molina, 7. Again, I think is right. Then you've got Thiago Almada and Gavi with 1 for a little scruffle. I'm glad to see that Paredes with a hefty fine, although the money is no problem for neither of them or the Argentine Federation anyway. But they got heavily sanctioned.
Yeah, and I think they're also going to have to pay some games at 50% capacity.
Yeah.
I don't know how heavy a sanction this is. I mean, how many official games? I mean, I kind of imagine Argentina's next 10 games are all going to be friendly.
Yeah.
Or thereabouts.
Well, no, yeah. The Guardian reported on plans for a combined UEFA CONCACAF Nations League, Gab. This seems an obvious attempt to circumvent Gianni Infantino and FIFA.
Yeah, this is a little bit naughty, but
Yeah.
you want to play out the scenario? You put the UEFA teams, the CONCACAF teams, maybe their friends in Asia, who of course also signed that statement against Infantino. And then all of a sudden, could you imagine a Nations League where, I don't know how it worked. Presumably you wouldn't fly across the world regularly to play each other, but maybe
somewhere, yeah.
Maybe the top 16 qualify for a tournament instead of a Final Four. We'll have a Sweet 16 at the end. That might be a little miniature World Cup somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere.
That's what they're trying to do, I think. Lionel Messi scores, but Inter Miami fall at Toronto FC 2-1. Jules, 1 point from their last 5 MLS and Leagues Cup games.
Yeah, it's tough. They concede a lot of goals. They miss a lot of chances as well because, again, I think in this game, the defeat is a little harsh considering how many chances they had and how well they played at the time. But there's a lot of frustration, I think, for Leo Messi too. There was a few incidents. He's kind of slapped the back of the head of one of his opponents and things that you don't usually see him doing. And obviously a lot happened during the World Cup and the final loss. Then after that, his father, everything. So you can completely understand, frustration. They're human beings as well, those players. But yeah, poor patch of form certainly. Not so much for him, but for the team. Shakhtar Donetsk will play their home Champions League games at Stamford Bridge this season. Gab, is this a good idea?
I think it's a good idea. I think the reality is their country is at war. They were attacked by Russia. They've had to play away from home, although they play in Germany where they had a lot of
Poland,
or Poland where they had support. And it's obviously nearby, but you take it to London, you take it to a bigger dimension. Stamford Bridge is not in use, and for me personally, and very selfishly, I like the fact that I will have more than one Champions League football option on Champions League match nights.
Yes, exactly.
Cristiano Ronaldo scored back on Friday in Al Nassr's 4-0 win over El Riyadh. Jules, it's 25 straight seasons with at least one goal.
Yeah, incredible. It's a good finish as well if you haven't seen it in a game that they dominated quite heavily, and Ange Postecoglou was very happy, and there will be much tougher games where he might not be as efficient and in that kind of goal-scoring form. But, I mean, we run out of superlatives anyway of his career and how incredible of a goal scorer he's been. I don't think this will ever be beaten, really, 25 seasons in a row to score in one of the big leagues, of the top flights of a country. This is still a big league, it's still the top flight in Saudi Arabia. I think he's just remarkable. And that's, for what we say, is probably his last season.
I wonder, you say they'll never be beaten, but Lewandowski and Giroud, aren't they? Oh, no, because Giroud took a while to get going. He was at Grenoble.
Lewandowski, 25 years, 25 seasons in a row.
He's at 20, 21. Who knows?
Probably not. 25 is a lot.
It's
a lot. FIFA President Gianni Infantino is still under pressure, Gabi. CONCACAF President Victor Montagliani asked him not to attend an event in the Caribbean, and UEFA President Alexander Seferin said mean things about him for a change.
Yeah, it's bad cop and good cop, isn't it? So the Montagliani thing, they had the Caribbean Football Union meeting. He sent a letter, and the letter was made public. Well, we had it at ESPN as well, basically saying like it's not appropriate for you to be here. So what does he do? He comes anyway. You can't stop him from coming. And to be fair to Infantino, obviously, and I would have done exactly the same thing. He meets with the head of the Olympic Committee and the sports minister and this and that because these countries hedge their bets. They don't know who's going to win. As for Alexander Chefrin, he appeared on Alistair Campbell's podcast, and he was extremely clear. He said Infantino needs to resign. He says, so there's two options. Either he realizes, and I quote here, he realizes he doesn't have the support, not only the political support of the ones who vote, which ultimately is what's going to matter, but the political support of the football community, the political support of fans, the political support of players, former players and coaches. The problem is these guys don't vote, although they can put pressure on their FAs if they want to. Or the second option is that he's going to go to the elections in March. In that case, I think somebody will stand against him. I don't know yet who. Chefrin said it's not going to be him, which is good because Chefrin would lose. And he said he doesn't think it's going to be Nasser. If he says this, it's pretty obvious it's not going to be Nasser. So the question is, who's it going to be? Will it be the good cop, Victor Montagnani? Will somebody else come out of the woodwork? Stay tuned. Or will it even get to that? Because it's entirely possible that if he resigns before, somehow, we will get an interim boss through March, and then maybe it'll be two totally different candidates. Jules, this brings us to an end.
Yes.
I'm not going to be here on Thursday. I will be in Monaco at the Champions League draw. You'll be holding down the fort with Don Hutchinson, I believe.
That's right.
So until then, love the game, love your neighbor, love yourself.